This title is presented to you by Soundlibra.com. For more audiobooks like this, click the link in the description or visit our website at Soundlibra.com. Welcome to the Adaptability Edge. Today, we explore thriving in a world that never stops changing.
And I'm Lisa. This series dives deep into what it means to be adaptable, to harness change for success.
Before we dive in, a quick note. While we're discussing growth and mindset, this content is for educational purposes and isn't a substitute for professional mental health or medical advice.
That's an important point. So, diving into episode 1, the dawn of the adaptable age. It sounds both daunting and hopeful. Alex, why are traditional approaches to stability failing us?
For generations, success meant stability and security. But the world has accelerated. Technology, global events, communication. These reshape our landscape at unprecedented speed. The ground is constantly shifting.
So, clinging to a fixed future sets us up for a fall?
Precisely. It's like using an outdated map in a storm. Skills and knowledge become obsolete quickly. The pressure to perform in predictable environments is replaced by the necessity to perform in unpredictable ones.
If stability is the old rule, what's the new one? You've called it adaptability. What does that mean here? Is it just flexibility?
Flexibility is part of it, but adaptability is a core operating system for this new era. It's the capacity to anticipate, adjust to, and thrive amidst change. It's not just rolling with punches, it's actively learning, evolving, and innovating. It's recalibrating your direction without losing purpose.
So, it's proactive, not just reactive. It's about learning to sail through the storm effectively.
Exactly. Adaptability is a set of skills, a mindset, and a practice. It allows individuals, teams, and organizations to cope with disruption and leverage it for progress. This is why it's an absolute must-have for thriving today.
So, traditional success focused on permanence. Now, success is defined by our ability to navigate and create change.
That's a perfect summary. Consider a craftsman whose skill becomes obsolete. If they can't adapt, their livelihood is at risk. But if they've cultivated adaptability, they see it as an opportunity to learn a new, in-demand craft.
It's about developing a mindset open to lifelong learning and reinvention.
Absolutely. And this applies to businesses too. Companies that can adapt disappear. Those that embrace agility, experiment, and learn from failure are the ones leading.
So, the core message is that the world has shifted, and our approach must shift with it. Static security is replaced by dynamic capability, adaptability.
Indeed, this is the foundational principle of our series. Adaptability is your personal edge, allowing you to face uncertainty with confidence and see disruption as a chance to grow.
It sounds like a journey of continuous growth. Alex, before we finish this introductory episode, what's coming next in episode 2?
In episode 2, we'll explore your inner operating system for change. We'll unpack the mental and emotional frameworks that help or hinder our ability to adapt. It's about understanding the software that runs your mind when faced with the unexpected.
That sounds essential. Understanding our own responses is key to developing external adaptability. So, listeners, the takeaway today: change is the new constant, and adaptability is your superpower for navigating it. We've laid the groundwork for why this skill is vital.
This is just the beginning of our exploration into the adaptability edge. Start thinking about how change impacts you and where you already demonstrate this skill.
The tools and insights over the next 11 episodes will help you intentionally build that adaptability muscle.
Thanks for listening.
Happy learning! Next episode: your inner operating system for change.
Welcome back. Last time, we explored the dawn of the adaptable age. Now let's address your inner operating system for change.
We discussed how change is constant and navigating it is now a crucial skill. It's like learning to steer through ever-changing winds.
Exactly. Today, we're diving into your inner operating system for change. Think of it as the internal software that dictates how you react to the unpredictable.
So, it's not just about external tactics, but about changing our fundamental thinking and feeling about change.
Precisely. This system is made of your deeply held beliefs, assumptions, and habitual thought patterns. These are the hidden drivers that either help you embrace change or resist it.
It's like a default setting. If your system is programmed to panic at disruption, that's your automatic response.
You've got it. The great news is this system isn't fixed. Like software, it can be updated. We're talking about rewiring your brain for greater flexibility. Imagine you always take the same route to work, predictable and comfortable. Then a road closure occurs. Your old system might react with frustration,
This is a disaster. My routine is ruined.
right? But a system adapted for change sees it as an opportunity. Okay, what's a new route? Maybe I'll find a shortcut or a nice cafe. It shifts from a problem to a puzzle or an adventure.
That's a powerful mindset shift. What are the main parts of this inner operating system we should examine?
First, consider your fundamental beliefs about change. Do you view it as inherently negative, a threat, or as a natural part of life and a source of growth? This belief is foundational. If you see change as bad, your system will constantly be on high alert.
So, challenging those negative beliefs about change is the first update needed.
Absolutely. Next is your tolerance for uncertainty. How comfortable are you with not knowing precisely what's coming? Many people seek certainty because it feels safe, but life is fundamentally uncertain. If your system struggles with ambiguity, any lack of clarity will trigger anxiety.
That makes perfect sense. I know I sometimes feel I need all the answers before starting something new, which can really halt progress.
Exactly. This leads to the third element, your typical response to setbacks. When things don't go as planned, and they often won't during change, do you tend to get discouraged, assign blame, and give up? Or do you see it as feedback, a learning opportunity, and a reason to try a different approach?
This is where resilience truly shines, isn't it? It's not about avoiding challenges, but about how effectively you recover.
Precisely. Your inner operating system governs that recovery process. So, how do we initiate this software update? It begins with awareness. You can't change what you don't recognize. For the next few days, I encourage you to simply observe your thoughts and reactions when change or uncertainty appears. Don't judge them, just notice.
So, essentially, keeping a record, mental or written, of when X happened, I felt Y, and thought Z.
Yes. Then we start to challenge those automatic negative thoughts. If you find yourself thinking, this will be a disaster, ask yourself, is that absolutely true? What evidence supports that? How could I view this more realistically or positively?
That requires conscious effort. It's like building strength.
It truly is. Another effective technique is reframing. Instead of thinking, I have to deal with this new project, try I get to learn and grow from this new project. Or instead of, this is a problem, consider this is a challenge. The words we choose significantly influence our emotional state and our willingness to engage.
So, it's about deliberately selecting more empowering language.
Absolutely. We're also adjusting your cognitive filters. We all filter information, and what you focus on matters. If you're constantly looking for reasons why change is negative, you will find them. We need to train ourselves to look for opportunities, lessons, and positive aspects, even in difficult circumstances.
It's like increasing the brightness on the screen of our perception.
A perfect way to put it. Remember when we discussed the adaptable age in the last episode? This inner operating system is precisely what allows us to thrive in it. It's your personal engine for navigating the inevitable currents of change. Imagine your brain as a garden. by default, it might grow weeds of worry and resistance. But with conscious effort, planting seeds of positive belief, nurturing realistic optimism, and pulling out the weeds of doubt, you can cultivate a garden that flourishes even in changing seasons.
That's a beautiful image. So, to summarize this episode's key ideas, our inner operating system for change is shaped by our beliefs about change, our comfort with uncertainty, and our reactions to setbacks.
And the process of updating it involves awareness of our current patterns, actively challenging negative thoughts, intentionally reframing our language, and adjusting our cognitive filters to spot opportunities. This isn't about ignoring difficulties, but about building the internal resilience and flexibility to confront them directly.
So, instead of our inner system crashing when faced with unexpected input, we're learning to download the latest patches and an upgrade to handle it smoothly.
You got it, Lisa. This software update is the critical first step in developing your adaptability edge. It's about empowering yourself from the inside out.
This has been incredibly insightful, Alex. It feels like we're finally getting to the practical how of adapting, not just the why.
And we're just getting started. Next episode, you're deciphering your change response patterns.
I'm already looking forward to it.
Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Last time, we explored the idea of your inner operating system.
Right, Alex? We talked about how ingrained these systems can be.
Exactly. And today, we're discussing your change response patterns. These are the predictable ways you react when something new pops up.
So, it's like uncovering our personal change playbook?
Precisely. Understanding those go-to reactions is key to gaining control.
So, what are some of these common patterns you see?
We can group them into three main categories: the reactor, the resistor, and the reluctant participant.
Okay, let's start with the reactor. What does that look like?
The reactor is primarily driven by immediate circumstances and emotions. When change happens, their first instinct is to react emotionally. They might feel overwhelmed, anxious, or excited, but their response is quite immediate and often spontaneous. They jump into action based on what's happening right now.
So, they're very much in the moment, perhaps impulsively.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. On the positive side, reactors can be very energetic and adaptable in a crisis. However, their reactions can sometimes be impulsive, leading to less strategic decisions or difficulty with long-term planning. They might say, "Okay, this is happening. What do I do now?"
I can see how that could be both a strength and a challenge. So, if the reactor is all about immediate action, what about the resistor? That sounds like someone who really pushes back.
That's exactly right, Lisa. The resistor is characterized by a natural inclination to maintain the status quo. When change is introduced, their initial response is often to question it or to delay its implementation. They value stability, predictability, and established processes.
So, resistance might come from a genuine concern about what could be lost.
Precisely. A resistor might focus on the potential downsides or the risks. Their critical thinking can prevent costly mistakes. However, if this resistance becomes entrenched, it can stifle innovation. They might ask, "Are we sure this is a good idea? What if this goes wrong?"
That's a really important distinction. It's not always about being stubborn, but often about preserving what works. And then we have the reluctant participant. How does that one differ?
The reluctant participant is somewhere in the middle. They aren't jumping headfirst into the new like a reactor, nor are they actively pushing back like a resistor. Instead, they acknowledge that change is happening and they will likely have to adapt, but they do so with a sense of obligation or perhaps resignation. They might not be enthusiastic, but they're willing to go along with it, often with a sigh.
So they're the ones who say, Okay, fine, I guess we have to do this. And then they do it.
Exactly. They're not actively seeking the change, but they're not actively fighting it either. They often wait to see how things play out before fully committing. Their strength lies in their compliance and their ability to integrate changes once they're unavoidable. The challenge for them can be a lack of proactive engagement. They might miss opportunities to shape the change. They might think, well, this is happening, so I might as well get on with it.
Reactor, resistor, reluctant participant. It's fascinating how we can fit into these categories. But Alex, are we just one of these? Or can we be a mix?
That's an excellent question, Lisa. Most people aren't rigidly confined to just one pattern. You might primarily be a reactor in one situation and a resistor in another. Your dominant pattern can also shift depending on the specific change. The goal isn't to label yourself permanently, but to become aware of your tendencies.
So once we recognize these patterns in ourselves, what's the next step?
The crucial step is conscious engagement. Instead of letting your default pattern play out automatically, you pause and reflect. For a reactor, it's about pausing before acting to consider the long-term implications. For a resistor, it's about asking, what are the genuine benefits or necessities of this change that I might be overlooking? And for the reluctant participant, it's about asking, how can I not just participate, but contribute meaningfully?
It sounds like it's about adding a layer of intentionality to our reactions.
Precisely. It's about moving from reactive or passively compliant behavior to proactive and intentional engagement. We're essentially upgrading our inner operating system, as we discussed last time, by becoming more mindful of how we process and respond to change.
And I suppose this also helps us understand others better. If we see someone else behaving like a resistor, we might be less quick to judge.
Absolutely, Lisa. Recognizing these patterns in ourselves provides a powerful lens through which to view the behavior of others. It fosters empathy and can lead to more constructive dialogue.
So, to recap what we've covered today, we've identified common change response patterns: the reactor, who acts immediately, the resistor, who questions and resists, and the reluctant participant, who goes along with it with some hesitation. The key takeaway is that by becoming aware of our own dominant patterns, we can begin to intentionally choose our responses, moving from automatic reactions to more conscious and effective engagement with change.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Understanding your change response pattern is like getting a user manual for your own adaptability. It's the first real step towards mastering change, rather than being mastered by it. And next time, we'll explore embracing the beautiful chaos of uncertainty. Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Last time, we explored your personal change response patterns. Now, let's tackle uncertainty.
Uncertainty. That feeling of not knowing what's next, of the ground being wobbly. In our fast-paced world, uncertainty is a constant.
Our brains crave certainty because it signals safety. Evolutionarily, predictability meant survival. This wiring means uncertainty can trigger our inner alarm system, leading to anxiety and stress.
So, when things are uncertain, our instincts tell us to be on guard, creating that uncomfortable feeling.
Exactly. This can make us avoid decisions or cling to rigid plans. The struggle often comes from resisting the natural fluidity of situations.
And resisting is exhausting. How can we stop fighting this tendency and start embracing this beautiful chaos?
The first step is reframing uncertainty from a threat to an opportunity. Innovation, for instance, thrives when old maps no longer apply, forcing us into new territory. Uncertainty is fertile ground for creativity.
So, instead of, oh no, this is terrible, we can think, things are uncertain. What new possibilities does this open up?
That's the idea. Acknowledge the discomfort, then actively choose to lean into the potential. Think of a sailor. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. Uncertainty is the wind. Our adaptability is how we manage our sails.
That analogy really helps. So, practically, what can we do to reduce anxiety when the path is unclear?
Focus on what you can control. When the big picture is overwhelming, zoom in on small, actionable steps. You might not control the economy, but you can control your time or skill development.
So, with a big, uncertain project, I'd focus on completing the initial research or outlining the first few tasks, rather than panicking about the whole thing.
Perfect. Mindfulness is another powerful tool. It helps us be present, observing our thoughts and feelings without judgment. When uncertainty triggers anxiety, mindfulness allows us to acknowledge those thoughts and let them pass, anchoring us in the now.
Mindfulness helps us separate our thoughts from reality. 2. I might think disaster is imminent, but mindfulness reminds me it's just a thought.
Absolutely. Another crucial practice is building your tolerance for discomfort. We often avoid unpleasant feelings. To thrive amidst uncertainty, we need to expand our comfort zone with discomfort, learning to sit with it and understand it's temporary.
That sounds like actively training ourselves to not escape uncomfortable feelings immediately, like building a muscle.
Precisely. It's mental conditioning. Another helpful technique is flexible scenario planning. Instead of one rigid plan, consider two or three plausible futures and your approach in each. This isn't about prediction, but about having a response toolkit ready.
So, it's less about saying this will happen and more about saying, if X happens, I'll do Y. If Z happens, I'll do W. It gives us options and agency.
Exactly. And remember, uncertainty often breeds connection. When unsure, we turn to others for support. Open communication with colleagues, friends, and mentors becomes invaluable. Sharing uncertainties lightens the load and reveals solutions.
That's a great point. It's easy to feel alone in our worries, but reaching out creates a shared sense of navigating the unknown, which is much more empowering. It confirms we're not alone.
Indeed. So, to recap today's discussion on embracing uncertainty, our brains are wired for certainty, but this causes anxiety in our unpredictable world. We can reframe uncertainty as an opportunity for growth.
And we explored practical strategies, focusing on what we can control, practicing mindfulness, building tolerance for discomfort, and using flexible scenario planning. Plus, the power of connecting with others.
You've got it. Embracing uncertainty isn't about eliminating it, but developing the inner capacity to navigate it with confidence and discover opportunities within it. It's about finding potential in the beautiful chaos.
So, instead of fearing the unknown, we can learn to find our footing even when the ground isn't solid.
That's the adaptability edge in action. When you can find comfort and opportunity in uncertainty, you gain a significant advantage.
This has been incredibly insightful, Alex. The strategies make this challenging concept feel achievable.
Thank you, Lisa. And for our listeners, remember that cultivating comfort with uncertainty is a practice. Be patient with yourselves. Next episode, The Art of the Pivot, Strategic Shifts for Success. Welcome back to the Adaptability Edge. Last time, we embraced the beautiful chaos of uncertainty. Now, let's discuss the art of the pivot.
The art of the pivot. It sounds so intentional and graceful. So, Alex, what exactly do we mean by a pivot when we talk about adaptability? Is it just a small tweak or something bigger?
A pivot signifies a significant strategic shift. It's a deliberate change in direction, often driven by new information or evolving circumstances. Think of a dancer changing their move mid-performance, or a race car driver making a strategic pit stop that alters their entire race strategy. It's about recognizing when to change course to achieve a better result.
So, it's an active choice to change, not just being pushed by external forces. That makes sense. It's about taking back the reins. But how do we know when it's time to pivot? I imagine many people just keep pushing on a path that's not working because admitting it's time for a change can be hard.
Recognizing the need to pivot is a learned skill. We need to observe our environment and our own internal signals. Are you consistently encountering roadblocks? Is your strategy yielding diminishing returns? Are your core assumptions being challenged by reality? These are all cues that a change might be necessary.
So, if I'm noticing those things, what's the difference between a pivot and just stubbornly persisting? Is there a point where persistence becomes counterproductive?
Persistence is valuable when you're facing temporary obstacles on a fundamentally sound path. A pivot, however, is necessary when the path itself is flawed or when the destination has changed. If you see a pothole, you steer around it. That's an adjustment. If you realize the road you're on leads to a dead end, you need to find a completely new road. That's a pivot. It involves a deeper assessment of your goals and your strategy.
That analogy of the road is really helpful. So, once someone recognizes the need to pivot, what are the essential elements for making that strategic shift successful?
A successful pivot typically involves a few key components. First, clear assessment. This means rigorously evaluating your current situation, your resources, and the external landscape. What's working? What's not? Where are the new opportunities or threats?
Okay, so you look honestly at what's happening. What's next?
Second, redefinition of goals. Sometimes the pivot means your ultimate destination needs to be adjusted. Perhaps your original goal is no longer feasible, or a new, more compelling goal has emerged. It's about staying aligned with what truly matters.
So, you might be changing what you're aiming for, not just how you're aiming for it.
Exactly. Third, strategic reevaluation. This is where you brainstorm alternative paths that align with your redefined goals. It's about creative problem solving and exploring new approaches.
This sounds like a lot of thinking and planning. Is there room for spontaneous pivots, or is it always a long, drawn out process?
It's a spectrum. Some pivots are born out of extensive analysis and planning, especially in larger organizations. Others can be more rapid, especially if the external shift is sudden and demands an immediate response. However, even rapid pivots benefit from a foundation of adaptability. If you've been practicing mindful observation and flexible thinking, your ability to pivot quickly is enhanced.
That makes sense. So, flexibility in your mindset primes you for faster pivots. What's the fourth component?
The fourth is decisive action. Once you've assessed, redefined, and reevaluated, you need to commit to the new direction and execute the pivot. You can't be halfway into a pivot.
And likely your fifth component is learning and iteration, right? You pivot, you take action, and then you observe again.
Precisely, Lisa. That's our fifth crucial element, continuous learning and iteration. After you've made the shift, you must monitor the results. Does this new direction feel right? Is it yielding progress? This feedback loop informs further minor adjustments or even future, larger pivots.
So, to recap for our listeners, the five key elements of a successful pivot are honest assessment of your current situation, redefining your goals to ensure they're still relevant, reevaluating your strategy to find new paths, taking decisive action to implement the change, and finally, committing to continuous learning and iteration to refine your new course.
That's a perfect summary. And remember, a pivot isn't a sign of failure. It's a testament to your intelligence, your foresight, and your commitment to achieving success in a dynamic world. It's about being agile enough to change course when necessary, not just to survive, but to thrive.
It's about seizing control of your narrative, isn't it? Instead of just letting circumstances dictate your path, you make a conscious decision to steer towards a better outcome.
Exactly. Think about entrepreneurs who initially designed a product for one market, but quickly realized a different application was more promising, and thus pivoted their entire business model. Or consider individuals who, after years in one career, realize their true passion lies elsewhere and make a significant, focused shift. These are powerful examples of the art of the pivot.
It sounds like it requires a certain level of bravery to admit the current approach isn't working and to then commit to a new one, especially if it's a big shift.
It absolutely does. But that bravery is amplified by preparation. By understanding the principles of pivoting and cultivating a mindset that embraces change, you build the confidence to make those significant shifts when needed. It's not about reckless change, but about informed, strategic redirection.
So, this isn't just about reacting to external pressures, but about proactively designing your path forward, even if that path involves a significant turn. The art of the pivot is really about mastering intentional change.
Indeed, it's about recognizing that the ability to change course is as important as the initial direction. We've explored what a pivot is, why it's necessary, and the crucial elements for making one successful. Being able to pivot is a superpower in today's world.
Pivoting with purpose. I love that. It empowers us to stay on track, even when the track itself needs changing.
Absolutely. And next time, we'll explore how this art of the pivot connects directly to resilience. We'll discuss adaptability meets resilience, your unshakable foundation. Welcome back to the Adaptability Edge. Last time, we explored the art of the pivot, learning how to make strategic shifts for success. Now, we're diving deep into the bedrock of thriving amidst change. Adaptability meets resilience.
That's right, Alex. We've spent a lot of time talking about how to be adaptable, how to change direction, and handle uncertainty. But what happens when things get really tough? When the pivots aren't enough, and we need something more fundamental to keep us going. That's where resilience comes in.
Exactly, Lisa. Think of adaptability as your ability to change course, to find a new path when the old one is blocked. Resilience, on the other hand, is your capacity to bounce back from setbacks, to withstand pressure, and to keep moving forward even when you've been knocked down. They are powerful partners.
So, how do these two qualities work together? It seems like one is about moving forward, and the other is about recovering from falling down.
They are incredibly interconnected. Your ability to adapt helps build resilience. When you successfully navigate change, when you pivot and find a new way forward, you're essentially building the mental and emotional muscle to handle future challenges. Each successful adaptation is a testament to your inner strength.
That's a great way to put it. So, every time we adapt, we're actually getting stronger, more resilient. It's not just about surviving the change, but about growing from it.
Precisely. And conversely, resilience fuels your adaptability. When you have a strong sense of resilience, you're less likely to be paralyzed by fear or overwhelmed when change is upon you. You approach new situations with a mindset that says, I can handle this. I've overcome challenges before, and I will again. This confidence allows you to be more open to adapting.
So, it's a virtuous cycle. Adaptability builds resilience, and resilience empowers adaptability. It's like building a strong, flexible foundation for your life structure.
That's a fantastic analogy, Lisa. A strong foundation isn't rigid. It can sway with the wind, but won't break. Adaptability is that flexibility, that sway, and resilience is the underlying strength that prevents it from collapsing.
Let's break this down a bit more. What are some of the key components of this unshakable foundation that resilience provides?
One of the cornerstones of resilience is optimism, not a blind, Pollyannish optimism, but a realistic optimism. It's the belief that things can get better and that you have a role to play in making that happen. This optimistic outlook allows you to see opportunities even in difficult circumstances, which is crucial for adaptation.
So, when change hits, instead of thinking this is a disaster and nothing good can come of it, a resilient person might think, this is difficult, but what can I learn from this? How can I grow through this?
Exactly. Another vital component is self-efficacy, your belief in your own ability to succeed in specific situations or accomplish a task. When you have high self-efficacy, you're more likely to take action, to try new approaches, and to not give up easily when faced with obstacles. This directly supports adaptability.
That makes sense. If you believe you can figure things out, you're more likely to actually try to figure things out. It's about having that inner confidence that you can learn, adjust, and overcome.
Absolutely. And then there's the importance of social support. Resilient individuals often have strong connections with others. They know they don't have to face challenges alone. Having a support network, friends, family, colleagues, provides emotional backing, practical advice, and a sense of belonging. This support system can make a huge difference in how you perceive and react to change, and how quickly you can adapt.
I've noticed that myself. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, just talking to a friend can completely shift my perspective and give me the energy to tackle whatever I'm facing. It's like sharing the burden makes it lighter.
It truly does. And this ties into another element, problem-solving skills. Resilience isn't just about enduring. It's about actively engaging with challenges. Resilient people tend to be good at analyzing problems, brainstorming solutions, and taking action. This proactive approach to problem solving is the heart of adaptability, identifying a challenge and finding a way to move beyond it.
So, to recap, we're talking about realistic optimism, self-efficacy, strong social support, and effective problem-solving skills as key ingredients that make us resilient, and how these qualities powerfully feed into our ability to adapt.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Now, let's explore how we can actively cultivate these resilient qualities. It's not something you're necessarily born with or without. It's a skill set we can develop.
I'm eager to hear that, Alex, because sometimes life throws curveballs that feel almost impossible to catch.
One of the most effective ways to build resilience and, in turn, adaptability is through mindful practice. Mindfulness helps you stay present, observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment, and develop a greater sense of self-awareness. This awareness allows you to recognize when you're getting overwhelmed and to consciously choose a more adaptive and resilient response.
So, practicing mindfulness is like training your brain to be less reactive and more responsive during stressful times?
Precisely. It's like building a mental buffer. Another powerful technique is reframing challenges. Instead of seeing a setback as a personal failure, try to reframe it as a learning opportunity or a temporary obstacle. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can this make me stronger? This shift in perspective is a significant resilience builder and opens the door for adaptation.
That reframing exercise sounds so simple, but I can see how it would have a profound impact on how you feel and what actions you're willing to take.
It absolutely does. And we can't underestimate the importance of self-care. This means prioritizing sleep, nutrition, exercise, and activities that bring you joy and relaxation. When your physical and mental well-being are strong, you have more energy and capacity to handle stress, to be adaptable, and to bounce back from difficulties. It's hard to be resilient or adaptable if you're running on empty.
That's a crucial reminder, Alex. We often push self-care to the bottom of the list when things get busy, but it's precisely then that we need it the most. It's the fuel for our adaptability engine.
Spot on. And finally, actively seeking out challenges in a controlled way can also build resilience. Think of it as strength training for your adaptability muscles. By stepping outside your comfort zone in small, manageable ways, you learn that you can cope with discomfort and that you have the capacity to learn and grow. This builds confidence and a greater willingness to embrace larger, unexpected changes.
So it's about intentionally pushing our boundaries a little bit so that when the big, unexpected pushes come, we're better prepared.
Exactly. To sum up our exploration today, we've seen how adaptability and resilience are not separate traits, but deeply intertwined forces. Adaptability is your ability to navigate change, to pivot and find new paths, while resilience is your capacity to withstand, recover, and thrive in the face of adversity. They form an unshakable foundation.
We've identified key components of resilience like realistic optimism, self efficacy, strong social ties, and problem solving skills. And we've discussed practical ways to cultivate these, including mindfulness, reframing challenges, prioritizing self care, and seeking out manageable challenges.
By strengthening our resilience, we create a more robust inner core that allows us to adapt more effectively, more fearlessly, and more successfully, no matter what life throws our way. This interconnectedness is what truly allows us to not just survive change, but to flourish.
It's empowering to know that we can actively build this strength within ourselves. It's not just about waiting for change, it's about preparing ourselves to meet it head on.
And that preparation is what gives us the adaptability edge. Next episode, we'll be fueling your future by exploring the immense power of learning agility.
That sounds like a perfect follow up to building our resilience. Join us next time for episode 7.
Welcome back. Last time we explored how adaptability and resilience build an unshakable foundation for navigating challenges.
Right, Alex? And that idea of bouncing forward brings us to today's topic. To adapt effectively, we must be constantly learning. Today, we're focusing on the power of learning agility.
Absolutely, Lisa. Learning agility is the ability to learn from experience and apply that learning effectively in new situations. It's about being a nimble learner in a constantly changing world. We learn how to learn, and we learn fast.
Nimble learner. I like that. It paints a picture of someone who can quickly grasp new concepts, adjust their approach, and let go of old ways of thinking. So, Alex, what are the core components of this learning agility?
Think of learning agility as having a few key ingredients. The first is the ability to learn rapidly. This means quickly absorbing new information, understanding new skills, and grasping new concepts. It's about being open to new ideas and not getting stuck in your current knowledge base.
So, not just being smart, but being open and quick to pick things up. Like someone who picks up a new language relatively easily.
Exactly. The second crucial component is the ability to apply what you've learned. Learning in a vacuum isn't very useful. We need to be able to take that new knowledge or skill and put it into practice to see how it works in real-world scenarios. This bridges the gap between knowing and doing.
That makes perfect sense. It's like learning all the rules of chess, but then actually playing a game and using those rules strategically. The application is where you truly test and solidify your understanding. What's the third piece?
The third vital component is the ability to unlearn. This is often the hardest part. As the world changes, old ways of doing things can become obsolete. Holding on to outdated knowledge or methods can hinder your ability to learn and adapt. Unlearning is about letting go of what no longer serves you, clearing the way for new and better approaches.
Unlearning. That sounds like a real challenge, especially if something has worked for you in the past. It requires humility, doesn't it? To acknowledge that your old way of thinking might be holding you back.
It absolutely does. It requires a willingness to question your own assumptions and to be comfortable with the idea that you might have been wrong. When we talk about learning agility, we're really talking about a mindset, a growth mindset. It's the belief that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work.
A growth mindset. We've touched on this before. It's the opposite of a fixed mindset, which believes our abilities are inherent and unchangeable. So, for learning agility, a growth mindset is essential, making us more receptive to new learning and less afraid of mistakes.
Precisely. And cultivating this mindset means seeing every experience as a potential learning opportunity. A setback isn't just a failure, it's feedback. A new project isn't just a task, it's a chance to learn a new skill or gain a new perspective. Every interaction, every challenge, every success, and every failure can be a classroom.
So, the key is to approach life with curiosity and a willingness to be a perpetual student. But how do we actually cultivate this learning agility? Where do we start?
Let's break it down. First, actively seek out new experiences. This could be anything from taking a different route to work to volunteering for a project outside your comfort zone. The more diverse your experiences, the more opportunities you have to learn and adapt.
Okay, so consciously stepping outside our routine. That's actionable. What else?
Second, embrace feedback. Both positive and constructive feedback are incredibly valuable. View it as a roadmap for improvement. Ask for feedback, listen without defensiveness, and honestly assess how you can use it to grow.
That requires thick skin sometimes. But I can see how crucial it is. That's like getting guidance from a coach.
Exactly. Third, reflect on your experiences. Don't just do things, think about them afterward. What went well? What could have gone better? What did you learn? Journaling or mentally reviewing can be incredibly powerful for consolidating learning.
So, it's not just about the doing, but the processing of the doing. It's like reviewing game tape after a match.
You've got it. And fourth, be willing to experiment and take calculated risks. Learning agility often involves stepping into the unknown. This doesn't mean being reckless, but it does mean being brave enough to try new things, even if there's a chance you might not succeed immediately.
Calculated risks. That's a good distinction. It's about pushing boundaries intelligently. So, to recap, we're talking about actively seeking new experiences, embracing feedback, reflecting on our experiences, and being willing to experiment. These are powerful practices.
They are. And it's important to remember that learning agility isn't a talent you're born with. It's a skill that can be developed. It requires conscious effort and practice, but the rewards are immense. In a world that's perpetually evolving, the ability to learn, apply, and unlearn is not just an advantage, it's a necessity.
It's the fuel for our future, as our episode title suggests. Because if we stop learning, we stop growing. Being adaptable means being a lifelong learner. It means seeing every challenge as an opportunity to become better, smarter, and more capable.
And that continuous learning, that agility in our minds, is what allows us to pivot when circumstances demand it, to innovate, and to ultimately thrive in the face of change. It empowers us to not just survive change, but to lead it.
Absolutely. So, to our listeners, I encourage you to consciously think about how you can be more of a nimble learner this week. Where can you seek out a new experience? How can you solicit more helpful feedback? How can you be more reflective about your daily activities?
And remember, the goal isn't to know everything, but to be open to learning anything. This ability to learn quickly and apply that learning is what will truly set you apart and keep you at the forefront of the adaptable age.
It's the edge, isn't it? The adaptability edge.
It is. And this brings us towards the end of another valuable discussion on our journey through the adaptability edge. Next episode, we'll be exploring the critical role of emotional intelligence in navigating change, looking at how our EQ can be a powerful tool for adaptation.
That sounds like another essential piece of the puzzle. We'll see you then.
Welcome back to the Adaptability Edge. Last time, we explored the power of learning agility. Today, we're diving into something equally crucial for navigating change, emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence, or EQ. It sounds important, especially when things are shifting around us. So, Alex, why is EQ such a big deal when we're talking about adapting to change?
That's a great question, Lisa. Think about it. Change almost always brings emotions with it. Stress, anxiety, excitement, even fear, they're all part of the package. If we can't manage those feelings or understand how they affect us and others, adapting becomes much harder. Emotional intelligence is essentially our ability to understand and manage emotions, both our own and those of the people around us. It's like having a finely tuned internal compass and a way to connect with others' internal landscapes.
An internal compass and connecting with others. I like that. So, how does this EQ advantage actually help us deal with change specifically?
It breaks down into a few key areas. The first, and perhaps the most foundational, is self awareness. This is about truly understanding your own emotions, your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, and how they all impact your thoughts and behaviors. When change hits, a self aware person can recognize, okay, I'm feeling anxious right now. Why is that? Is it the uncertainty, a past negative experience, or something else? This recognition is the first step to not letting the emotion control you.
So, instead of just feeling overwhelmed, you can pinpoint what you're feeling and why. That makes a lot of sense. What's the next piece of the EQ puzzle?
Next up is self regulation. This is the ability to manage your disruptive emotions and impulses. Once you're aware of your emotions, self regulation allows you to control them. Instead of lashing out in frustration when a project timeline shifts unexpectedly, you can pause, think, and respond thoughtfully. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions, but rather channeling them constructively.
Ah, so it's about not letting those feelings run the show. It's like having brakes on your emotional reactions rather than just driving at full speed. This is crucial because when we're stressed, we often do things we regret.
Exactly. And when you can regulate your own emotions, you're also better equipped to handle the emotional responses of others. This brings us to our third component, empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. In times of change, people might be feeling confused, scared, or even resistant. Empathy allows us to see things from their perspective, to acknowledge their feelings, and to respond with compassion.
Empathy is so important. If someone is struggling with a new process or a shift in their role, being able to say, I understand this is difficult for you, can make a huge difference, right? Rather than just saying, you need to get on board.
Absolutely. And from empathy, we move to the fourth pillar, social skills. This is about managing relationships, building networks, and influencing others. People with strong social skills can communicate effectively, inspire others, manage conflict, and work collaboratively. All vital skills when teams are adapting to new directions or navigating uncertain waters. They can build consensus and a shared sense of purpose.
So, to recap these four core components of emotional intelligence in the context of change, we have self awareness, which is knowing your own emotions, self regulation, which is managing those emotions, empathy, which is understanding others' emotions, and social skills, which is using that understanding to build relationships and work together.
You've got it. Now, how do these play out practically when facing a significant change? Let's picture a company implementing a large-scale software upgrade. The change might introduce a steep learning curve, disrupt familiar workflows, and create anxiety about job security,
Oh, I can definitely imagine that scenario. Lots of potential for resistance and stress.
right? So, a leader with high EQ would first show self-awareness. They'd recognize their own potential stress about the project's complexity, but choose to focus on the positive outcomes. Then, they'd use self-regulation to maintain a calm and confident demeanor, even if they're feeling pressure. This composure is reassuring to the team.
And because they're calm and focused, they can then afford to use their empathy. They can anticipate that their team members will have concerns and anxieties.
Precisely. An empathetic leader would reach out, not just to announce the changes, but to ask about people's concerns, to listen actively, and to acknowledge the challenges. They'd say things like, I know this is a big shift, and it might feel overwhelming at first. We're here to support you through this.
And those social skills would come into play when they're explaining the benefits, reassuring people, and perhaps organizing training or support groups. They're not just imposing the change, they're guiding people through it.
Exactly. They're creating a bridge of understanding and support. This makes the transition smoother for everyone. Remember when we talked about the beautiful chaos of uncertainty in episode 4? EQ helps us navigate that chaos not by eliminating it, but by understanding and managing the human element within it. It allows us to lead ourselves and others through the storm with more grace and effectiveness.
It really turns a potentially negative experience into something more manageable and even a source of growth. It's about emotional fluency in the face of the unfamiliar, as the description put it. It's not just about being smart, it's about being emotionally smart.
And the good news is emotional intelligence isn't fixed. It's a skill set that can be developed and strengthened over time. It takes practice, reflection, and a genuine desire to understand yourself and others better. Think of it like building a muscle. The more you exercise your self-awareness, practice pausing before reacting, actively try to see things from others' perspectives, and refine your communication, the stronger your EQ becomes.
So, for anyone who feels like they struggle with managing their emotions during stressful times, or finds it hard to connect with others when things get tough, there are actionable steps they can take.
Absolutely. Start with small actions. When you feel a strong emotion during a change, pause. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? What triggered this? Then consider how you want to respond, rather than just reacting. For empathy, make a conscious effort to really listen when someone is talking about their feelings, without interrupting or trying to fix it immediately. Just listen and acknowledge. And for social skills, practice clear and direct communication, seeking to understand before being understood.
It's about being more intentional with our emotional responses and our interactions. That groundedness provided by EQ is a huge advantage when everything else feels like it's in flux. It's the human element that makes adaptability truly sustainable.
It is indeed, and it's a topic that connects deeply with the idea of resilience we discussed previously. Our emotional intelligence is a core part of our unshakable foundation. When we can manage our internal world, we are much better equipped to bounce back from setbacks and continue moving forward, even when circumstances are challenging.
So, to wrap up this episode, we've learned that emotional intelligence, encompassing self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills, is a critical asset for navigating change. It empowers us to manage our own reactions and to connect with, understand, and support others through transitions. It's about mastering our inner landscape so we can better navigate the external world.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. By developing our EQ, we gain the emotional fluency needed to thrive, even when change feels overwhelming. It's not just about reacting to change. It's about proactively engaging with it in a way that fosters personal and collective growth.
Fantastic. So, where are we headed next in our adaptability journey?
Next time, we'll shift our focus from personal adaptation to how we can transform our environments. We'll be looking at redesigning our workplaces to be more adaptable.
That sounds like a natural and exciting progression. Looking forward to it.
Welcome back to the Adaptability Edge. We're exploring how to thrive in a constantly changing world.
Last time, we dove deep into emotional intelligence and how our feelings guide us through uncertainty.
Exactly, Lisa. Today, we're applying those individual skills in a professional context. We're transforming our approach to work into a highly adaptable, change-thriving personal operating system.
So, we're moving from managing personal change to actively demonstrating and fostering adaptability in our jobs. How do we become that indispensable person who excels when things are in flux?
That's right. It's about making adaptability visible. When a new project lands or strategy shifts, people turn to the person who doesn't panic, who sees possibilities.
The one already thinking about solutions.
Precisely. To cultivate that reputation, it starts with your mindset and action. Instead of saying this is impossible, an adaptable professional asks, how can we make this work? Or what new approach could we try? It's about proactive curiosity.
That speaks to embracing uncertainty. It's not just tolerating it, but actively seeking opportunities within it.
Absolutely. Demonstrating this involves concrete actions. Offering to take on new tasks outside your usual description shows a willingness to learn and grow. This signals you're a valuable asset, someone reliable when things change.
So, it's about volunteering for opportunities that stretch our skills.
Yes, and it's how you communicate. When faced with disruption, share your thought process. State concerns, then immediately follow up with potential solutions or a plan to investigate them. This proactive problem solving is reassuring.
That's a great point about communication. It's easy to focus on the negative aspects of change, but sharing constructive thinking steers the conversation positively.
Indeed, and it doesn't stop with your own actions. An adaptable professional fosters a culture of change. How? By actively supporting colleagues who are also adapting.
So, being a helpful resource for others struggling with new processes?
Exactly. Share what you've learned. Offer mentorship, even informally. If you've figured out a new tool, help others discover it too. This collective adaptability strengthens the entire team. Remember our episode on learning agility? This is where it becomes infectious.
That's a brilliant way to put it, making adaptability infectious. It's not just individual excellence, but elevating the whole group.
And that means being open to new ideas, even if they aren't yours. An adaptable professional listens to diverse perspectives and collaborates on integrating approaches. This open-mindedness is critical for innovation. When you value new ideas, people bring them to you.
So, it's about creating an environment where new ideas flourish.
Precisely. Now, let's talk about making yourself indispensable. Adaptability thrives in today's rapidly evolving job market. Skills can become outdated, but the ability to adapt, learn, and pivot is timeless.
So, rather than clinging to one expertise, an adaptable professional continuously polishes and expands their skill set, anticipating what might be needed next.
You've hit the nail on the head. Think of your career as a ship. You can have the finest sails, but if you can't adjust them to the wind, you'll get stuck. An adaptable professional is constantly adjusting their sails, anticipating shifts.
That's a powerful analogy. So, how do we practically do that? How do we proactively anticipate shifts?
It starts with staying informed. Read industry news, follow thought leaders, attend webinars. Connect those trends back to your work. Ask, how might this impact our goals?
This sounds like a constant process of research and reflection.
It is, and it's about being willing to experiment. If you see a potential new tool or a different way of working that could improve efficiency, propose a small pilot. This demonstrates initiative and a forward-thinking attitude. Leaders want people who actively seek to improve how jobs are done.
So, it's about being a change agent, not just a participant.
Exactly. And importantly, it's about building strong relationships. Adaptability isn't just technical skills, it's interpersonal skills, connecting with people and navigating team dynamics, especially during change. Remember our episodes on emotional intelligence? That plays a huge role.
Yes, understanding how to manage conflicts or build consensus during change is vital.
Absolutely. An adaptable professional is a connector. They build bridges. They understand who knows what, and they can rally people around a common goal, even when it's shifting. This makes you valuable for your skills and your ability to bring people together.
So, To recap, becoming the adaptable professional means demonstrating adaptability through actions, communication, and supporting others. It's about making yourself indispensable by staying ahead, being open to new ideas, and fostering a collaborative, change-positive environment.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. It really boils down to proactively redesigning your professional persona. You're not just adapting to change, you're becoming a catalyst for positive change. You're building that adaptable, change-thriving personal operating system for your work life.
It's about making yourself the solution. When challenges arise, you're the person people want on their team because you embody that can-do, we'll figure it out spirit.
Exactly. And that's a powerful position. It leads to greater job satisfaction, more opportunities, and a sense of purpose in navigating the modern workplace.
This has been incredibly insightful, Alex. It's actionable advice anyone can start implementing.
I'm glad you think so. And we've got more practical strategies coming your way. Next episode, Leading Through Change. Welcome back to the Adaptability Edge. Today, we discuss leading through change.
That's right, Alex. In episode 3, we really dug into how we each respond to change, our individual patterns. Now, we're taking that understanding and leveling it up. Instead of just being pushed by change, how can we learn to anticipate it, even shape it?
Exactly. Think about it. Most of the time, when change happens, our initial instinct is to react. Something happens and we figure out a way to deal with it. It's like being in a river and the current is pulling you and you're just trying to stay afloat.
And that can feel exhausting, can it? Constantly playing catch up. So, proacting is about getting out of the river and maybe even being the one to steer the boat, or at least anticipate where the river is going to bend next.
That's a fantastic analogy, Lisa. Proacting is about developing foresight. It's about cultivating that ability to see opportunities and challenges before they fully materialize. It's about intentionally shaping your path forward, rather than just navigating the path that's presented to you.
So, how do we get there? How do we develop this foresight and start leading through change, instead of just following?
It starts with a fundamental shift in perspective. We need to move from a mindset of what is happening to me to what can I make happen. This involves cultivating a sense of agency and responsibility. It's about recognizing that while we can't always control external events, we can absolutely control our response, our preparation, and our initiative.
That makes sense. So, it's not about predicting the future with perfect accuracy, but about being better prepared for a range of possibilities and actively working towards a desired outcome.
Precisely. One of the key strategies is active observation and continuous learning. We talked a lot about learning agility in episode 7, and it's crucial here. You need to be constantly scanning your environment. What are the trends? What are other people doing? What are the potential disruptions on the horizon? This isn't about passive observation. It's about deliberate information gathering.
So, it's like being a detective for the future, looking for clues, connecting the dots.
Yes. And then it's about synthesizing that information. What does it all mean for you, for your work, for your goals? This is where strategic thinking comes into play. Proactors ask themselves questions like, given these trends, where is this likely headed? What are the potential implications? What steps can I take now to be in a better position later?
It sounds like it requires a certain level of courage, too. It's easier to wait and see, to let others make the first move. Taking initiative means potentially being wrong or facing unexpected challenges.
You're absolutely right, Lisa. Proacting definitely requires courage. It's about overcoming the fear of the unknown. And that's where adaptability and resilience, which we covered in episode 6, become foundational. When you are adaptable and resilient, you're less afraid to step out because you know you can handle setbacks. You see potential missteps not as failures, but as data points.
So we observe, We learn, we analyze, and then we take action. What kind of actions are we talking about when we say proacting?
It can manifest in many ways. It might be initiating a new project that you see a gap for, even if it's not officially on the radar yet. It could be reaching out to a mentor or a peer to discuss a potential industry shift. It might be signing up for a course to build a skill you anticipate needing. It's about being proactive in your development and your contributions.
It's about creating momentum rather than just being carried by it.
Exactly. And think about leadership. Whether you're leading a team, a company, or just yourself, proacting is the hallmark of effective leadership through change. Leaders who proact don't just manage crises. They anticipate them and steer their organizations towards emerging opportunities. They foster a culture where thinking ahead and taking initiative is encouraged.
So, for someone listening who thinks, okay, I want to do this, but I still feel stuck in reaction mode, what's a simple first step they can take today?
A great first step is to dedicate just 10 minutes each day to scanning. Set a timer. During those 10 minutes, consciously look for one trend, one piece of news, one observation that might impact your field or your personal goals in the next 6 months to a year. Don't try to solve everything. Just observe. And then jot down one thought about it. That's it.
Just 10 minutes. I love that. It's small, it's manageable, and it starts building that habit of looking outward and forward. And then perhaps the next step is to ask, what's one small proactive thing I could do based on that observation?
Yes, building on that. Remember that the journey from reacting to proacting isn't an overnight transformation. It's a continuous practice. It's about consistently choosing intentionality over habit, foresight over hindsight. It's about understanding that while change is inevitable, being a passive recipient of it is a choice we can actively unmake.
And as we've seen throughout the series, the more we practice these skills, observation, learning, strategic thinking, courage, adaptability, the more natural and effective our proacting becomes. We're essentially retraining our response mechanisms.
Exactly. We've explored our change response patterns, embraced uncertainty, learned to pivot, built resilience, and honed our learning agility. We've tapped into emotional intelligence and looked at adapting our workplaces. Now, we're bringing it all together by truly leading through change. Proacting is about self-leadership and the ability to influence positive outcomes.
So, to recap, proacting means moving from simply reacting to change to anticipating and even shaping it. Key elements include intentional observation, continuous learning, strategic thinking, courageous action, and fostering a proactive mindset. Start small with a daily scanning habit and build from there.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. You're not just riding the wave of change, you're learning to surf it and maybe even direct where the wave goes.
And that's the ultimate adaptability edge.
Indeed. Next episode, we'll explore the unfolding self, focusing on continuous adaptation and personal growth. Welcome back to the Adaptability Edge. Today, we focus on the unfolding self and continuous growth.
It feels like we've been on quite a journey through this series, Alex. We've explored so many facets of what it means to be adaptable.
Absolutely, Lisa. And today, we're bringing it all together. Adaptability isn't just about handling a single change. It's about fostering a mindset of continuous evolution and personal growth. It's a lifelong journey, or as we're calling it, the unfolding self. Remember back in episode 2, we talked about your inner operating system for change? Today, we're thinking about how that system is constantly being updated and improved.
That's a powerful way to put it. So, the idea is that we're not aiming for a fixed, final version of ourselves, but rather a perpetually developing one, driven by our capacity to adapt?
Exactly. Think of it like a river. A river isn't a stagnant pool. It's always flowing, always changing, carving new paths, responding to the landscape around it. That's the adaptable self, constantly in motion, constantly growing, and constantly becoming more. Throughout this series, we've touched on several key elements that feed this unfolding process. Let's revisit a few.
I'm ready to be reminded. What's the first piece of the puzzle you want to highlight?
Let's start with our response patterns, which we dived deep into in episode 3. We learned that understanding whether you tend to resist, embrace, or strategically navigate change is crucial. For the unfolding self, this means continuously refining those responses. It's not about suppressing a natural tendency, but about developing a wider toolkit of reactions and choosing the most effective one for the situation. Can you recall some of those patterns you found yourself identifying with, Lisa?
Oh, definitely. I realized I could sometimes get stuck in the resistance phase. Learning to recognize that and consciously shift towards embracing, or at least analyzing the change, was a big takeaway for me. So, for the unfolding self, it means becoming more aware of those ingrained patterns and actively practicing different responses, right?
Precisely. It's about building conscious control, and that ties directly into embracing uncertainty, a topic we explored in episode 4. The unfolding self doesn't just tolerate uncertainty, it learns to find opportunities within it. When you're open to the unknown, you're inherently more adaptable, and that adaptability fuels new learning and new versions of yourself. Imagine instead of seeing a foggy path ahead, you see a space for discovery.
That's a fantastic analogy. Uncertainty can feel daunting, but framing it as a space for discovery makes it so much more inviting for growth. It's like a blank canvas.
It is. And this need to discover and learn is where learning agility, our focus in episode 7, becomes paramount. The unfolding self is a perpetual learner. It actively seeks out new information, new skills, and new perspectives. It's not just about acquiring knowledge, but about the ability to learn quickly and effectively, and then apply that learning.
So it's that proactive stance, actively going out to learn, rather than passively waiting for information to come to us. And remember, Alex, you highlighted that it's about learning how to learn, not just what to learn.
You've got it. Learning how to learn is the engine of continuous adaptation. It's the meta skill that allows all other adaptations to happen more smoothly. And this ties beautifully into emotional intelligence, or EQ, which we discussed in episode 8. Navigating the ups and downs of change, understanding our own emotions and those of others, is fundamental to maintaining our psychological equilibrium as we evolve.
I remember that episode really resonated. Understanding your own emotional triggers during change and managing them constructively prevents those emotions from derailing your growth. It allows you to stay on the path of development, even when things get tough.
Indeed, the unfolding self requires a strong emotional foundation. Now, let's bring in the professional aspect we discussed in episode 9, redesigning your workplace. While we often think of adaptability in personal terms, it's also about how we operate within our professional environments. The adaptable professional is not just someone who survives change, but someone who actively contributes to an adaptive culture.
And that leads us to episode 10, where we talked about moving from reacting to proacting. It's that shift from being a passive recipient of change to an active agent of it. This is the pinnacle of the unfolding self, not just adapting to what happens, but shaping what will happen.
Exactly, Lisa. When you're proacting, you're in a state of continuous growth. You're anticipating needs, creating opportunities, and steering your own evolution, both personally and professionally. This proactive stance is a hallmark of the truly adaptable individual. It means you're not waiting for the river to carve a new path for you. You're actively choosing where and how that river flows.
So, putting it all together for our listeners, the unfolding self is our ongoing journey of personal growth, fueled by continuous adaptation. It involves understanding and refining our change response patterns, embracing uncertainty as an opportunity, being a lifelong learner, managing our emotions with EQ, adapting our professional lives, and ultimately moving from reacting to proactively shaping our future.
That's a perfect synthesis, Lisa. It's about recognizing that growth is not linear. It's a dynamic, iterative process. You learn, you adapt, you grow, and then you repeat that cycle. Each adaptation, each new skill learned, each emotional insight gained adds another layer to who you are. You become a richer, more capable, and more resilient version of yourself.
It's empowering to think of ourselves as works in progress, with the ability to consciously sculpt those progress.
And the beauty of it is that this process never ends. There's always more to learn, more to experience, and more to become. The adaptable edge isn't a destination you arrive at. It's the quality of your journey. It's the ongoing commitment to learning, growing, and evolving. It's the unfolding self, perpetually becoming. Next episode, the Adaptability Edge Toolkit, your integrated system. Welcome back to the Adaptability Edge. Your ultimate toolkit for thriving through change is here.
That's right, Alex. We've built this powerful system piece by piece, and now it's time to see how it all fits together.
Exactly, Lisa. Think of this episode as consolidating everything we've learned into your personal Adaptability Edge toolkit. This is your integrated system, ready to navigate and flourish in a world that's constantly shifting. We've covered the adaptable mindset, mastering your response to change, embracing uncertainty, the art of the pivot, building resilience, boosting learning agility, leveraging emotional intelligence, and even designing an adaptable workplace.
So, to start, Alex, can you remind us of the core of this adaptable mindset we've been talking about? What's the foundational principle?
Absolutely. The bedrock of the adaptable mindset is understanding and accepting that change is not an anomaly, but the norm. It's about shifting your perspective from seeing change as a threat to viewing it as an opportunity. This means cultivating a belief in your capacity to learn, grow, and adjust no matter the circumstances. It's a fundamental internal belief system that underpins everything else we've discussed.
So, it's not just about reacting to change, but having that inner conviction that you can handle it and perhaps even benefit from it. And that naturally leads to how we respond, right? You mentioned change response patterns in episode 3.
That's a key piece of your toolkit, indeed. Our change response patterns are those often unconscious ways we react when disruption occurs. Are you someone who freezes, withdraws, resists, or perhaps even dives in headfirst? Understanding these patterns is crucial because it allows you to move from automatic, potentially unhelpful reactions to more deliberate, constructive responses. This is about becoming aware of your own internal thermostat and learning to adjust it.
And you emphasize that we can actually train ourselves to respond more effectively. It's not something we're just stuck with.
Precisely. By practicing mindfulness, self-reflection, and cognitive reframing, which we touched on in episode 8 with emotional intelligence, you can begin to consciously choose more adaptive responses. This part of the toolkit is about mindful awareness and intentional action.
That's so important. Now, let's talk about uncertainty. Episode 4 was all about embracing the beautiful chaos. How does that fit into the toolkit?
Embracing uncertainty is about developing a tolerance for the unknown. Historically, we've been taught to seek predictability and control. But in today's environment, that's often an illusion. Your adaptability toolkit expands significantly when you learn to be comfortable with not having all the answers, with not knowing exactly what's next. It's about finding your footing even when the ground feels unstable.
It's like learning to surf, right? You don't control the waves, but you learn to ride them.
A perfect analogy. And riding those waves often requires the art of the pivot. our focus in episode 5. This is about being able to make strategic shifts when your current path is no longer serving you, or when the landscape changes dramatically. It's not about giving up, but about intelligently redirecting your energy and resources.
So, you have the mindset, you understand your responses, you're comfortable with not knowing, and you can smartly change direction. But what happens when things get tough? That's where resilience comes in, which we explored in episode 6.
Resilience is your shock absorber. It's that capacity to bounce back from adversity, to not just survive, but to learn and grow from difficult experiences. Your adaptability toolkit includes building this inner strength. It's about cultivating a robust sense of self, strong support networks, and a belief that challenges are temporary and surmountable. Think of it as building your inner fort.
And resilience is closely linked to our ability to keep learning, isn't it? Episode 7 focused on learning agility.
Crucially so, learning agility is the engine that fuels your adaptation. It's the willingness and ability to learn from experience, to apply that learning to new situations, and to do so quickly. This is a vital tool for anyone wanting to stay relevant and effective. It means being curious, seeking out new information, and being open to unlearning outdated ways of thinking or doing.
So, adaptability isn't just about reacting to external change, but actively seeking out new knowledge and skills. And throughout this series, we've returned to the idea of emotional intelligence, particularly in episode 8. How does that weave into the toolkit?
Emotional intelligence, or EQ, is the lubricant that makes all these other tools work smoothly together. It's about understanding your own emotions and those of others, and using that understanding to manage relationships and make decisions effectively. When you're navigating change, being emotionally intelligent helps you manage stress, communicate better, build trust, and lead with empathy. It's your social and emotional compass.
That makes so much sense. Because change often involves other people, whether at work or in our personal lives.
Indeed. And that brings us to episode 9, where we discussed redesigning your workplace to be more adaptable. This means creating environments where agility is valued, where experimentation is encouraged, and where people feel safe to take calculated risks. It's about building adaptability into the very fabric of our professional lives.
And then, moving beyond just responding, episode 10 was about from reacting to proacting, leading through change. This feels like a more advanced level of using the toolkit.
It is. Proacting is about anticipating change, even creating it, rather than simply reacting to it. It's about having the foresight and the ability to influence future outcomes. This is the apex of adaptability, seeing the shifts coming and positioning yourself and your team to not just cope, but to lead the charge.
And finally, episode 11 brought us to the unfolding self, continuous adaptation, and personal growth. This highlights that the toolkit isn't a static set of tools, but something we continuously refine.
Exactly. The ultimate adaptability edge is recognizing that personal growth is a lifelong journey of continuous adaptation. It's about constantly evolving, learning from every experience, and integrating those lessons to become a more capable, resilient, and effective version of yourself. This is about seeing yourself as a work in progress, always.
So, to recap this incredible journey, our Adaptability Edge toolkit is comprised of several interconnected components. We have the foundational adaptable mindset, believing in your capacity to change and grow. Then we master our change response patterns, learning to react intentionally rather than automatically. We cultivate comfort with uncertainty, finding stability even when things are unclear.
We develop the art of the pivot, knowing when and how to strategically shift direction. We build resilience to bounce back from adversity and learn from it. We foster learning agility, the engine that powers our ability to acquire new knowledge and skills.
We leverage our emotional intelligence to navigate ourselves and our relationships through change with grace. We consider the adaptable workplace, designing environments that foster agility. We move towards proactivity, anticipating and even influencing future change. And underpinning it all is a commitment to continuous personal growth and the unfolding of our true selves.
When you integrate these elements, your Adaptability Edge toolkit becomes more than just a collection of skills. It becomes your personal operating system for a dynamic world. It's about understanding that your ability to adapt is your greatest asset for success and well-being, not just today, but for a lifetime.
It's empowering to know that these are all skills and perspectives we can cultivate. This series has provided such a comprehensive framework.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you to our listeners for joining us on this exploration of the Adaptability Edge. We truly hope this toolkit empowers you to not just survive change, but to thrive through it in every aspect of your life. It's been a pleasure sharing this journey with you.
Thanks for listening to this series.